to Euphoria Channel.
This isn't a story for your eyes, no clips, no effects. Just a voice and silence in between. If it helps, the words appear on screen as well. Stay. Because maybe you need a space that doesn't demand anything from you. Not another screen, pouring out more information, but a voice that asks, "How are you, really?" If your heart and thoughts often move at different speeds, this is your moment to bring them back into rhythm. True power whispers while weakness screams. You've been taught that caring is strength, that reaction is proof of life, that feeling. Everything deeply makes you human. But what if the opposite were true? What if your greatest weapon was indifference? What if nothing bothering you was everything? Your heart races at a text. Your peace crumbles at criticism. Your day dies with one wrong look. When did you become so breakable? Silence is like wearing invisible armor, not the kind that blocks out the world, but the kind that lets everything bounce off without leaving a mark. You stand there, fully exposed to life's attacks, yet untouchable. Each insult, each disappointment, each betrayal hits the armor and slides away like rain on steel. You realize you were never weak. You simply forgot you were already protected. Napoleon Hill once said, "You have absolute control over just one thing, your own thoughts." In modern terms, your mind is the only territory you truly govern. Everything else is just visiting. Remember when you gave someone the power to ruin your entire week with a single comment? You handed over the keys to your castle and wondered why you felt homeless in your own life. Picture this. You're in a meeting. Your idea gets shot down, not just rejected, dismissed with a wave of the hand like you're invisible. Your face burns, your heart pounds. You shrink into your chair, replaying those 30 seconds for the next 30 hours. You gave them your power in real time. Why do we do this? Why do we hand over our emotional remote control to strangers, to critics, to people who don't even know our story? We've been conditioned to believe that caring about everything makes us good people, that being affected by every slight, every rejection, every raised eyebrow somehow proves we're engaged with life. But here's the brutal truth. You've confused sensitivity with strength. You've mistaken reaction for connection. Napoleon Hill understood something most people never learn. The starting point of all achievement is desire, but the sustaining point is indifference to obstacles. You can want something deeply while remaining untouched by the chaos surrounding it. When was the last time you went a full day without someone else's opinion changing your mood? Can't remember, can you? This isn't about becoming cold. This isn't about shutting down or checking out. This is about creating sacred space between you and the noise. Withdrawal is architecture, not avoidance. When Marcus Aurelius ruled the Roman Empire, he faced criticism from senators, threats from barbarians, plague devastating his people. Yet he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He didn't retreat from responsibility. He retreated into sovereignty. You do the same. When someone attacks your character, you don't defend, you observe. When plans fall apart, you don't panic, you adapt. When the world tries to drag you into its drama, you smile and stay exactly where you are. You reclaim what was always yours. The moment you stop reacting to every provocation, you become dangerous in the best possible way. Not because you're cruel, but because you're uncontrollable. People can't manipulate what they can't move. They can't break what refuses to bend. They can't defeat what won't engage in their game. This is how you carve out freedom in a world designed to trap you. Napoleon Hill spent 20 years studying the minds of the most successful people in history. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, men who built empires while the world threw everything it had at them. What did they all have in common? They acted as if nothing bothered them, not because they felt nothing, but because they chose what to feel and when to feel it. Hill discovered the secret. Every adversity, every failure, every heartache carries with it the seed of an equal or greater benefit. But here's what he didn't say explicitly. You only find that seed when you stop being destroyed by the storm. Strength and growth come only through continuous effort and struggle. The struggle isn't against the world. The struggle is against your own impulse to give your power away. Your mind is a garden. Most people let weeds grow everywhere. Worry, resentment, fear, the need for approval, and then wonder why they feel choked. Hill's approach was surgical. You become what you think about most of the time. So what are you thinking about? Are you thinking about who wronged you or what you're building? Are you replaying the insult or rehearsing your comeback? Are you focused on the problem or fascinated by the solution? The person who acts unbothered has made a simple choice. They think about what serves them and ignore what doesn't. When Edison's laboratory burned down, destroying years of work, he called his family to come watch the fire. He said, "All our mistakes are burning up. Thank God we can start fresh." That's thought control in action. Emotions are energy. Most people leak that energy everywhere. Getting angry at traffic, getting hurt by comments, getting anxious about things they can't control. But Hill knew. Self-discipline begins with the mastery of your thoughts. Emotional discipline isn't suppression, it's direction. You feel anger, but you channel it into determination. You feel hurt, but you transform it into wisdom. You feel fear, but you alchemize it into preparation. The unbothered person doesn't feel less. They feel with purpose. Think about Walt Disney. When his first animation studio went bankrupt, when banks rejected his ideas, when critics called his mouse cartoon ridiculous, he felt all of it. But he used those feelings as fuel, not as excuses. Here's the practice. Next time someone tries to upset you, pause and ask, what is this feeling trying to teach me? Not about them, but about you, about your boundaries, your values, your next move. That pause, that question, transforms reaction into reflection. The person with a burning purpose becomes immune to petty distraction. Not because they're numb, but because they're focused. Hill's most powerful insight: a goal is a dream with a deadline. But purpose is deeper than goals. Purpose is the why that makes everything else noise. When you know why you're here, when you know what you're building, when you know who you're becoming, criticism bounces off. Setbacks become redirections. Failures become data. The unbothered person isn't indifferent to life. They're committed to their mission. Colonel Sanders was rejected 1,009 times before someone said yes to his chicken recipe. But he didn't take those rejections personally because he wasn't selling himself. He was selling his vision. You become unbothered when you serve something bigger than your ego. Let's get practical. You're scrolling social media. You see someone you know living the life you wanted. Your stomach drops. Comparison starts its familiar torture. You begin the mental math. Their success versus your struggles. Their highlight reel versus your behind-the-scenes chaos. You just gave a stranger on a screen permission to define your worth. Or this. You send a message that takes vulnerability. Hours pass. No response. Your mind spirals. Did you say too much? Not enough? Are they ignoring you? Are you annoying? You just handed your piece to someone else's schedule. This pattern runs deeper than you think. We've been trained to measure ourselves by external validation from the moment we could walk. Gold stars from teachers, likes from friends, approval from parents. But here's what no one tells you. The need for external validation is a cage disguised as connection. Seneca, the Stoic philosopher who influenced Napoleon Hill's thinking, wrote, "Every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. Your beginning as an unbothered person starts with ending your subscription to other people's opinions." The brutal reality. Most people are too busy worrying about themselves to spend significant time judging you. That criticism you're obsessing over, they've already forgotten it. That rejection you're replaying, it's not even on their radar. You're suffering for an audience that's not even watching. If you knew that 90% of what you worry about will never happen, would you change how you think today? If you knew that most people forget what they said to you within hours, would you still carry their words for weeks? Real withdrawal isn't isolation, it's selectivity. You become like a museum curator, carefully choosing what deserves space in your mental gallery. Not every comment gets wall space, not every opinion gets a frame, not every emotion gets to stay. Hill understood this. Think and Grow Rich wasn't about money. It was about the wealth of a protected mind. The practice becomes simple. Someone insults you. File it under Not My Business. Plans fall through. File it under Redirection in Progress. Others succeed while you struggle. File it under Different Timeline, Same Destination. You're not ignoring reality. You're refusing to let reality ignore your potential. You create an empire in the space between stimulus and response. This space, this pause, becomes your most valuable real estate. In this space, you choose. In this space, you breathe. In this space, you remember who you really are. Napoleon Hill called it accurate thinking, the ability to separate facts from opinions, evidence from emotion, truth from temporary circumstances. When someone attacks your character, the fact is they spoke words. The opinion is those words mean something about you. The accurate thinker knows the difference. When plans fail, the fact is something didn't work. The opinion is you're a failure. The accurate thinker adjusts the plan, not their identity. You become the author of your own story, not a character in someone else's drama. Everything we've discussed lives or dies in your inner world. The battlefield isn't out there. It's between your ears, and most people are losing a war they don't even know they're fighting. Hill's research revealed that successful people think differently, not smarter, differently. They process the same information, but reach different conclusions. From reaction to response. Reaction is automatic. Response is chosen. Reaction serves emotion. Response serves purpose. Practice. Count to 5 before speaking when triggered. From problem to opportunity. Every setback contains hidden advantage. Hill's law. Every adversity carries the seed of equal or greater benefit. Practice. Ask, what can this teach me? Before asking, why me? From victim to victor. Victims ask, why is this happening to me? Victors ask, how can I use this to grow stronger? Practice. Replace, I can't because, with I can if. From scarcity to abundance, others' success doesn't diminish your opportunities. Hill's insight, there's enough success for everyone willing to pay the price. Practice, celebrate others. Wins as proof of what's possible. From approval to authenticity, stop performing for applause that may never come. Truth, your self-worth isn't determined by external validation. Practice, make decisions based on your values, not others' expectations. Hill was obsessed with mental nutrition. Just as you feed your body, you must feed your mind, and most people are on a junk food diet of worry, gossip, and negativity. Start each day by feeding your mind strength instead of stress. Instead of checking your phone, read something that inspires growth instead of worrying about the day. Visualize yourself handling challenges with calm instead of rushing. Take 5 minutes to set your emotional tone. Hill's morning practice. He spent the first hour of every day reading, writing, and thinking about his goals. No news, no complaints, no mental junk food. When the world tries to knock you off balance, pause and breathe. Literally interrupt the stress response. Ask the Hill question: how does this serve my larger purpose? Choose your response. Don't let emotion choose for you. End each day by processing, not accumulating. Review what challenged you, not to relive it, but to learn from it. Release what you can't control. Write it down, then let it go. Reinforce what you're building. Remind yourself of your progress and purpose. The unbothered person doesn't live in a bubble. They live in a carefully curated mental environment. Most people are emotional thermometers. They match the temperature of their environment. Someone's angry, they get angry. Someone's stressed, they absorb that stress. Someone's negative, they become negative. But the person who acts unbothered is an emotional thermostat. They set the temperature of their environment. Hill's discovery. You can control your mental attitude and through it, influence the mental attitude of others. Notice your emotional state every hour. Ask, am I running my emotions or are they running me? Adjust consciously. If you're stressed, breathe deeply. If you're scattered, focus on one task. Your calm becomes contagious. Practice, stay centered. When others are chaotic, watch how your stability stabilizes the room. You become the person others turn to in crisis, not because you have all the answers, but because you don't lose yourself in the questions. Your unshakable presence becomes their anchor. When you master your inner state, you master your outer influence. The ultimate test of your nothing bothers me mindset is relationships. Because people, the ones you love, the ones you work with, the ones you can't avoid, they know exactly which buttons to push. Your mother makes that comment about your life choices. Your boss takes credit for your work. Your friend cancels. Plans last minute, again. Your partner uses your vulnerability against you in an argument. These moments reveal whether you've built real strength or just a facade. The person who crumbles when their spouse is having a bad day hasn't mastered themselves. They've just been avoiding the test. The unbothered person doesn't withdraw from relationships. They bring stability to them. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of our relationship pain comes from trying to control other people's behavior instead of mastering our own response. We want our partner to always be understanding. We want our boss to always be fair. We want our friends to always be available. We want our family to always be supportive. But people are people, complex, inconsistent, dealing with their own struggles, operating from their own fears and triggers. Napoleon Hill observed, "No one can hurt your feelings without your cooperation." Think about that, your cooperation. Someone says something cruel and you have a choice: cooperate with the cruelty by taking it personally, or refuse to cooperate by staying centered in your own worth. The relationship pattern most people don't see: expectation. They should treat me better. Violation. They don't meet your expectation. Reaction. You get hurt, angry, or withdrawn resentment. You carry the emotional residue. Repeat. The cycle continues with the same person or someone new, but there's another way. Acceptance. People will be people. Boundaries. I choose how I respond. Response. You stay centered regardless of their behavior. Peace. You remain unshaken influence. Your stability often inspires their growth. What if the people who trigger you most are actually your greatest teachers, showing you exactly where you still give your power away? What if their behavior has nothing to do with you and everything to do with their own unhealed wounds? Relationship withdrawal isn't about building walls, it's about building boundaries. The difference is crucial. Walls keep everyone out and leave you isolated. Boundaries keep the toxic behavior out while allowing healthy connection in. Hill's relationship principle: you cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your attitude toward what happens to you. Applied to relationships, this becomes transformative. With criticism, old response: how dare they say that to me? New response: interesting. Is there any truth I can use here? The shift: you're no longer defending your ego, you're protecting your growth. With rejection, old response: I'm not good enough. New response: we're not aligned right now. The shift: you're no longer internalizing their choices as your worth with manipulation. Old response: get defensive or comply out of guilt. New response: I understand. You're upset, but I'm not responsible for managing your emotions. The shift: you're no longer absorbing their emotional chaos. With betrayal, old response: how could they do this to me after everything? New response: this reveals their character, not mine. The shift: you're no longer making their choices about your value. The person who acts unbothered in relationships becomes a lighthouse, stable, grounded, offering guidance without chasing ships in the storm. You become someone people can trust to stay themselves regardless of the chaos. This is magnetic. Not because you're perfect, but because you're predictable in your stability. People know that. You won't explode when they're having a bad day. You won't withdraw when they're struggling. You won't take their stress personally. You won't try to fix what they haven't asked you to fix. Napoleon Hill called this attractive personality, the quality that draws people toward you, not because you need them, but because you're complete without them. The paradox: the less you need others to behave a certain way for you to be okay, the more they want to treat you well. Internal shift: you stop taking others' behavior personally. Their mood isn't your responsibility. Their choices aren't your identity. Behavioral change: you respond differently. Calmer, more thoughtful, less reactive. People notice something has shifted. Environmental influence: your new energy changes the dynamic. Some people rise to meet your stability. Others reveal themselves as incompatible with your growth. Both outcomes serve you. You discover that the right people are attracted to your authenticity, while the wrong people are repelled by your boundaries. This is how you build a life surrounded by those who truly see and value you. Your career is where the nothing bothers me mindset either makes you or breaks you. The workplace is a psychological battleground. Egos, politics, competition, deadlines, difficult personalities, unfair decisions. Most people survive their careers. The unbothered person thrives in theirs. Here's what Napoleon Hill discovered studying the most successful business people of his era. The ones who advanced fastest weren't the most talented or the hardest working. They were the most emotionally resilient. They had learned to play the long game while others got caught up in daily dramas. Anger: your boss takes credit for your idea. Average response: stew in resentment. Complain to colleagues, become passive-aggressive, unbothered response. Document your contributions, focus on your next valuable project. The difference: you build a reputation for professionalism, not problems, jealousy. A colleague gets the promotion. You wanted average response. Assume it's unfair, gossip about their qualifications, withdraw effort, unbothered response. Congratulate them genuinely. Ask for feedback on your own growth. The difference: you're seen as a team player, not a threat fear. Company restructuring threatens your position. Average response: panic, decrease productivity, desperately network. Unbothered response: update your skills, strengthen your value proposition, prepare for multiple scenarios. The difference: you become indispensable through preparation, not desperation. Pride: your idea gets rejected in a meeting. Average response: take it personally, argue defensively, shut down. Unbothered response: ask clarifying questions, offer to refine the concept. Stay curious. The difference: you're seen as collaborative, not combative. Hill's key insight: the way of success is the way of continuous pursuit of knowledge. But knowledge without emotional intelligence is powerless in the professional world. Become the calm in the storm. When deadlines create chaos, you remain methodical. When meetings get heated, you ask clarifying questions. When crises emerge, you focus on solutions. Result: you become the person leaders turn to when things get difficult. Master the art of strategic silence. You don't react to every criticism immediately. You don't jump into every debate. You don't defend every point. Hill's wisdom: think twice before you speak, because your words will plant the seed of either success or failure. Result: when you do speak, people listen. Transform obstacles into opportunities. Budget cuts: you propose innovative cost-saving solutions. Staff shortages: you develop systems that improve efficiency. Market challenges: you identify new revenue streams. Result: you become known as someone who creates value from difficulty. Build alliances through authenticity. You don't fake enthusiasm or pretend to agree when you don't. You don't throw others under the bus to advance yourself. You don't promise what you can't deliver. Result: people trust you because you're consistent. The person who acts unbothered doesn't chase leadership. Leadership finds them. Hill observed, the ladder of success is never crowded at the top. Why? Because most people eliminate themselves through emotional reactivity long before they reach their potential. Pressure reveals character. You welcome challenging projects because they showcase your abilities. You stay steady when others panic because that's when real leaders are born. You make decisions based on principles, not popular opinion. Example: when everyone else is complaining about a difficult client, you're figuring out how to serve them better. Criticism becomes data. You listen to feedback without getting defensive. You separate useful insights from personal attacks. You thank people for honest input even when it stings. Example: your presentation gets torn apart in a meeting. Instead of sulking, you ask specific questions about how to improve it. Success stays humble. You don't get cocky when things go well. You credit your team and your preparation, not just your talent. You use victories as motivation to work harder, not excuses to coast. Example: you land the biggest client in company history. Instead of celebrating publicly, you immediately start planning how to exceed their expectations. Setbacks become setups. You get fired, laid off, or passed over, and you use it as fuel. You analyze what you can control and release what you can't. You see every ending as a beginning in disguise. Example: your startup fails. Instead of hiding from the business world, you leverage the lessons learned to become a valuable consultant. The unbothered professional doesn't climb the ladder. They become the ladder that others want to climb. If these insights are shifting something in your perspective, there might be others in your circle who could benefit from this approach to life. Sometimes the most powerful gift we can give someone is a new way of thinking about their challenges. 6 months ago, everything bothered you. The slow internet, the long lines, the people who didn't text back, the friends who didn't invite you, the opportunities that went to someone else. You were a prisoner of your own sensitivity, exhausted by your emotional reactions, drained by caring about everything equally. But something shifted. Maybe it was hitting rock bottom. Maybe it was getting tired of your own drama. Maybe it was realizing that your peace was too valuable to trade for temporary satisfaction. You started practicing small things first. Not reacting when someone cut you off in traffic. Not checking your ex's social media. Not defending yourself when someone misunderstood you and something remarkable happened. The world didn't end. In fact, it got better. Let's be honest about what you had to give up to get here. The addiction to drama. You realized you were addicted to the adrenaline of being offended, the righteousness of being wronged, the attention that came from being upset. Giving up drama meant giving up a certain kind of aliveness. The toxic kind. The need to be right. You discovered that being right all the time was exhausting. You were spending more energy defending your positions than improving them. You chose growth over ego, and it felt like losing at first. The illusion of control. This was the hardest one. Accepting that you can't control other people's choices, the timing of opportunities, or the fairness of life. You had to learn to love the process without guaranteeing the outcome. Napoleon Hill understood this sacrifice. Every man is what he is because of the dominating thoughts which he permits to occupy his mind. You had to evict the dominating thoughts of worry, resentment, and fear to make room for thoughts of possibility, peace, and purpose. Looking back, what would you tell the person you were 6 months ago? The one who gave their power away so easily? Would you trade your current peace for your former intensity? The transformation wasn't about becoming less human. It was about becoming more selective about your humanity. You learned the art of conscious engagement, energy as currency. You started treating your emotional energy like money, finite and valuable. You stopped spending it on people who couldn't appreciate it, situations that couldn't change, and problems that weren't yours to solve. Attention as asset. You realized that where you put your attention is where you put your power. You stopped giving free rent in your mind to people who hurt you, opportunities you missed, and mistakes you made. Peace as priority. You made peace more important than being right, being liked, or being included. This didn't make you antisocial. It made you selectively social. Quality over quantity in every area of life. Hill's wisdom proved true. The most practical of all methods for controlling the mind is the habit of keeping it busy with a definite purpose, backed by a definite plan. Your definite purpose became your peace. Your definite plan became your daily choices to protect it. You became someone you didn't even know you could be. The quiet confidence. You stopped explaining yourself to people who were committed to misunderstanding you. You spoke less, but carried more weight when you did speak. The selective vulnerability. You became more open with the right people and more protected with the wrong ones. You shared your struggles with those who could handle them, and your dreams with those who could support them. The magnetic presence. People started gravitating toward your calm. They couldn't name it, but they felt it. You had become someone who didn't need anything from them, which made them want to give you everything. The person who acts as if nothing bothers them doesn't withdraw from life. They become the center of life that others orbit around. You discovered that inner peace isn't passive. It's the most active force in the universe. Mastery isn't a destination. It's a daily practice. Every morning, you wake up with the choice to give your power away or keep it. Every interaction is a test of your boundaries. Every challenge is an opportunity to prove to yourself that you've really changed. The mastery shows up in small moments. Your phone dies and you don't panic. Someone misunderstands your intentions and you don't over-explain. You see others living the life you want and you feel inspired instead of envious. Plans change last minute and you adapt without drama. Someone criticizes your work and you ask genuine questions instead of getting defensive. These aren't just behaviors, they're evidence of an internal revolution. You've learned that strength isn't about how much you can handle, it's about how little you let handle you. You've discovered that confidence isn't about having all the answers, it's about being comfortable with uncertainty. You've realized that success isn't about controlling outcomes, it's about mastering your response to whatever outcomes appear. Hill's final truth becomes your living philosophy. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But now you understand the deeper meaning. It's not just about achieving external goals, it's about achieving internal mastery. It's about conceiving of yourself as someone who cannot be shaken and believing it so deeply that it becomes your reality. The world will continue to test you. People will try to provoke you. Life will throw curveballs. Plans will fail. Hearts will break. Dreams will die and be reborn. But you've built something stronger than any storm, an unshakable sense of self. You act as if nothing bothers you, not because you're pretending, but because you've genuinely transcended the need for external circumstances to validate your internal worth. You've become the eye of the hurricane, completely still while chaos swirls around you. This is the ultimate achievement according to Napoleon Hill's philosophy, not the accumulation of wealth or status, but the cultivation of a mind so strong, so centered, so at peace with itself that nothing external can disturb its fundamental tranquility. You are no longer at the mercy of moods, opinions, or circumstances. You have become the master of your own emotional destiny, and in that mastery, you found the greatest success of all, the ability to move through life unshaken, unbothered, and completely free. If this journey resonates with your own experience, or if you found practical value in these insights, consider sharing this understanding with someone who might be struggling with their own emotional reactivity. Sometimes the most profound gift we can offer is a new perspective on an old problem. This is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your authorship. You now write your emotional narrative with intention, wisdom, and unwavering inner strength. The person who acts as if nothing bothers them has discovered life's ultimate secret. True power comes not from controlling the world, but from refusing to let the world control you. And in that refusal, you find freedom. And let's go deeper, because acting as if nothing bothers you isn't just a mindset. It's a complete rewiring of how you interface with reality itself. Most people live their entire lives as emotional hostages. They wake up each morning and immediately check their phone, allowing the digital world to set their emotional temperature for the day. A notification makes them anxious. A lack of notifications makes them feel forgotten. They've handed their inner state to algorithms designed to capture attention, not cultivate peace. But you've learned something different. You've learned that your first thought of the day belongs to you, not to the world's demands on your attention. Napoleon Hill understood this principle deeply when he wrote about the power of the mastermind. But what he was really describing was the mastery of your own mind first, before you could effectively collaborate with others. The mind is everything. What you think you become, Hill often reflected, though this truth predates him by centuries. Buddha understood it, Marcus Aurelius lived it, and now you're experiencing it. When you truly act as if nothing bothers you, you're not performing indifference. You're operating from a place of such deep self-knowledge that external chaos simply cannot penetrate your core. Think about water. When you throw a stone into a calm lake, it creates ripples, but the stone sinks and the water returns to stillness. The lake doesn't fight the stone. It doesn't resist the disruption. It simply allows the disturbance to pass through and returns to its natural state. This is how you've learned to be with life's inevitable disruptions. Someone speaks harshly to you, and instead of throwing harshness back, you let their words sink into the depth of your understanding without letting them disturb your surface calm. Opportunity doesn't work out as planned, and instead of creating waves of frustration, you allow the disappointment to settle and return your attention to the next possibility. You've become like water, powerful in its gentleness, unstoppable in its persistence, unbreakable because it knows how to flow around obstacles rather than crash against them. Hill's most profound insight wasn't about accumulating wealth, it was about accumulating wisdom. And the greatest wisdom is knowing that your inner world is the only world you truly control. Every morning when you wake up, you face the same choice that every human being has faced since consciousness began. Will you let this day happen to you, or will you happen to this day? The person who acts unbothered has chosen the latter. You happen to your day through your thoughts, your responses, your energy, your focus. You don't wait for the world to give you permission to feel good about yourself. You don't require external circumstances to align before you can access your inner strength. You've learned what Hill called the master key, the understanding that your thoughts are the architects of your reality, and therefore your thoughts deserve the same careful attention that an architect gives to blueprints. You wouldn't build a house without a plan, yet most people build their days without any intentional design for their mental and emotional state. But not you. You've become the architect of your own experience. When someone tries to drag you into their drama, you politely decline, not with words, but with energy. You've learned that emotional maturity isn't about having perfect emotional control. It's about taking complete responsibility for your emotional choices. No one can make you angry without your permission. No one can make you sad without your cooperation. No one can steal your peace unless you hand them the keys. This isn't denial or suppression. This is ownership. This is sovereignty. This is what it means to be truly free in a world that profits from your reactivity. Social media companies make money when you're triggered. News organizations profit when you're afraid. Consumer culture thrives when you feel inadequate. Politicians gain power when you're angry. But when you act as if nothing bothers you, you remove yourself from these systems of emotional exploitation. You become a free agent in your own life. Hill witnessed this freedom in every successful person he studied. They shared a common trait. They could not be emotionally manipulated by circumstances, critics, or competitors. Andrew Carnegie didn't build his steel empire by reacting emotionally to every market fluctuation, labor dispute, or competitive challenge. He built it by maintaining clarity of vision, even when everything around him was chaos. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize transportation by getting discouraged every time someone said his automobile idea was foolish. He persisted because he had learned to value his inner conviction more than external opinion. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb by taking each failed experiment as a personal defeat. He remained curious and determined because he understood that failure was just feedback, not a verdict on his worth. These men had learned what you're learning now, that external circumstances are just information, not instructions. When someone rejects your idea, that's information. Maybe about timing, maybe about presentation, maybe about their needs, maybe about their limitations. But it's not an instruction to doubt yourself or abandon your vision. When someone criticizes your choices, that's information about their values, their perspective, their concerns, their fears. But it's not an instruction to change who you are or how you live. When something doesn't go according to plan, that's information about what works, what doesn't, what needs adjustment, what needs to be abandoned. But it's not an instruction to stop planning or stop trying. You've learned to receive information without receiving instructions. You've learned to stay open to feedback without becoming enslaved to approval. This is the deepest level of what it means to act as if nothing bothers you. It's not about becoming impervious to input. It's about becoming selective about what input you allow to influence your inner state and your forward momentum. Hill called this definiteness of purpose, but it goes beyond having clear goals. It's about having such a clear sense of your own worth, your own path, your own truth, that temporary setbacks and social pressures lose their power to derail you. You know who you are. You know where you're going. You know what you're building. And because you know these things with unshakable certainty, other people's doubts cannot shake you. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you become truly unbothered, something unexpected happens. You become more connected, not less. Because you're no longer approaching every interaction from a place of need. Need for approval, need for validation, need for others to behave a certain way so you can feel secure. You can actually see people more clearly. You can listen to their words without hearing them as either praise or attack on your identity. You can observe their behavior without taking it as a reflection of your worth. You can love them without needing them to love you back in a specific way. This is the paradox Hill discovered. The less you need from people, the more you can give to them. The less attached you are to outcomes, the more effective you become at creating positive outcomes. When you're not constantly defending your ego, your energy becomes available for understanding, creating, serving, building. When you're not constantly managing your image, your authenticity becomes magnetic. When you're not constantly seeking approval, your natural charisma emerges. You become someone people want to be around, not because you're performing for them, but because you're completely at peace with yourself. Think about the people in your life who have this quality. They're not the loudest or the most dramatic. They're the ones who remain steady when everyone else is panicking. They're the ones who listen more than they speak. They're the ones who seem to have access to some inner resource that keeps them grounded no matter what's happening around them. Those people have learned what you're learning, that the ultimate success is not external achievement, but internal mastery. Hill studied wealthy people because wealth was the external marker that society recognized as success. But what he really discovered was that true success is the ability to maintain your center, regardless of external circumstances. Some of the wealthiest people he studied were miserable because they hadn't learned this internal mastery. They had accumulated external success while remaining slaves to their emotions, their fears, their need for approval. And some of the most internally masterful people he encountered weren't wealthy in monetary terms, but they possessed something more valuable: unshakable peace of mind. You're building that peace now. Every time you choose not to react to provocation, you're making a deposit in your inner strength account. Every time you respond to criticism with curiosity instead of defensiveness, you're increasing your emotional resilience. Every time you let go of something you can't control, you're expanding your freedom. This is compound interest for your soul. Small daily choices to remain unbothered accumulate into a life of unprecedented inner freedom. And here's what Hill understood that most people miss. This inner freedom is the foundation for any external success worth having. When you're not constantly worried about what others think, you can take the risks necessary for innovation. When you're not constantly seeking approval, you can pursue opportunities that others are too afraid to attempt. When you're not constantly protecting your ego, you can learn from failures and iterate quickly towards success. Acting as if nothing bothers you isn't just a way to feel better. It's a strategic advantage in every area of life. In business, you make better decisions because they're not clouded by emotion. In relationships, you attract higher quality people because you're not desperate for connection. In personal growth, you progress faster because you're not constantly being derailed by temporary setbacks. You become like a tree with deep roots. Storms may bend your branches, but they cannot uproot your foundation. This is what Hill meant when he wrote about the power of persistence. He wasn't talking about stubbornly repeating the same actions regardless of results. He was talking about maintaining your inner resolve regardless of external resistance. The person who acts unbothered persists not because they ignore obstacles, but because they don't let obstacles penetrate their core sense of purpose and self-worth. They adapt their strategies while maintaining their vision. They learn from feedback while trusting their instincts. They remain open to course corrections while staying committed to their destination. This kind of persistence is unbeatable because it's powered by something deeper than willpower. It's powered by self-knowledge. When you know who you are at your core, temporary defeats cannot define you. When you understand your true worth, other people's opinions cannot diminish you. When you're clear on your purpose, temporary setbacks cannot discourage you. You've become what Hill called success conscious, someone whose identity is rooted in their capacity for growth, learning, and contribution rather than in their current circumstances or other people's perceptions. Success consciousness means you expect good things to happen not because you're entitled to them, but because you've developed the inner qualities that naturally attract opportunities, relationships, and experiences that align with your highest good. You've learned to be unbothered by temporary delays because you trust your trajectory. You've learned to be unbothered by criticism because you trust your character. You've learned to be unbothered by competition because you trust your uniqueness. This trust isn't blind faith, it's earned confidence. You've proven to yourself through countless small moments that you can handle whatever life brings. You've demonstrated your resilience, your adaptability, your capacity for growth. And now, from this place of earned self-trust, you move through the world with a quality that others can feel but may not be able to name: unshakable presence. This presence isn't about being impressive or commanding attention. It's about being completely comfortable in your own skin, completely at peace with your own journey, completely committed to your own growth. People feel this authenticity and are drawn to it because it's so rare in a world where most people are performing versions of themselves designed to gain approval rather than express truth. You've stopped performing and started being. You've stopped reacting and started responding. You've stopped seeking and started creating. This is the ultimate expression of Hill's philosophy. You've become someone who generates their own success from the inside out, rather than someone who chases success from the outside in. And paradoxically, this inner-generated success is far more sustainable and fulfilling than any external achievement could ever be. Because when your success is rooted in who you are rather than what you have, no one can take it away from you. When your confidence comes from your character rather than your circumstances, no setback can shake it. When your peace comes from your principles rather than your position, no change can disturb it. You've learned the secret that Hill spent his entire career trying to convey. True wealth is internal mastery, and everything else is just a reflection of that mastery. The person who acts as if nothing bothers them has access to unlimited wealth, not because they accumulate external resources, but because they've learned to generate internal resources that can never be depleted. Your calmness is renewable energy. Your clarity is sustainable success. Your inner peace is compound interest that pays dividends in every area of life. This is your inheritance as someone who has chosen mastery over reactivity, wisdom over drama, presence over performance. You've graduated from being someone who is acted upon by life to someone who acts upon life with intention, consciousness, and unshakable inner strength. And this is just the beginning. Because every day offers new opportunities to deepen this practice, to refine this skill, to express this mastery in more nuanced and powerful ways. The journey of becoming unbothered is not a destination you reach. It's a way of traveling that transforms every step of the path. Welcome to the path of internal sovereignty. Welcome to the practice of emotional mastery. Welcome to the art of living as if nothing can shake the foundation of who you truly are, because nothing can unless you let it. And you've learned not to let it. But let's talk about what this mastery looks like in the most challenging moments. Because anyone can act unbothered when life is smooth. The real test comes when everything is falling apart simultaneously. Your relationship is struggling. Your career hits a roadblock. Your health demands attention. Your finances tighten. Your family dynamics explode all at once. This is when most people break. This is when the "nothing bothers me" mindset either reveals itself as genuine transformation or shallow pretense. Hill studied people who faced these exact moments. He called them temporary defeat, not failure, but temporary defeat, because he understood that life has a way of testing your commitment to your own growth. These moments are not punishments. They're promotions in disguise. They're life asking you, how deep does this mastery really go? When everything is crumbling around you, can you still access that calm center? When multiple areas of your life demand immediate attention, can you still prioritize your inner peace? When the pressure is so intense that everyone around you is panicking, can you still be the eye of the storm? This is graduate-level unbothered living. The answer isn't to pretend everything is fine. The answer isn't to suppress your very real concerns about very real problems. The answer is to remain rooted in your inner strength while dealing practically with external challenges. You've learned that being unbothered doesn't mean being inactive. It means being strategic instead of scattered, thoughtful instead of reactive, grounded instead of chaotic. When multiple crises hit simultaneously, the average person tries to fix everything at once and ends up fixing nothing effectively. But you've learned a different approach. You step back. You breathe. You assess. You prioritize. You tackle one thing at a time with full presence instead of 10 things at once with fractured attention. This isn't just crisis management. This is mastery in action. Hill observed that every great leader he studied had faced periods where everything seemed to go wrong at once. But instead of being broken by these periods, they were refined by them. They emerged stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more effective. Not because they were superhuman, but because they had learned to maintain their center while navigating chaos. You're developing this same capacity. Every time you remain calm while others panic, you're building what psychologists now call stress inoculation. You're training your nervous system to stay regulated under pressure, but it goes deeper than stress management. You're developing what Hill called cosmic consciousness, the ability to see temporary challenges within the context of your larger journey. From this expanded perspective, current problems become puzzles to solve rather than punishments to endure. Current setbacks become redirections rather than rejections. Current chaos becomes the raw material for your next level of growth. This shift in perspective is everything. It's the difference between being a victim of circumstances and being a student of life. When you're a victim, every problem is evidence that life is unfair, that you're unlucky, that success is for other people. When you're a student, every problem is curriculum. Every challenge is an assignment. Every setback is feedback on your current level of development. Hill discovered that successful people had learned to ask different questions when facing difficulties. Instead of, "Why is this happening to me?" they asked, "What is this trying to teach me?" Instead of, "How can I avoid this?" they asked, "How can I grow through this?" Instead of, "When will this end?" they asked, "Who am I becoming because of this?" These questions completely change your relationship with adversity. They transform you from someone who endures challenges to someone who mines them for wisdom. And here's what Hill found most remarkable. The people who learned to mine adversity for wisdom became virtually unstoppable. Not because they stopped facing challenges, but because they stopped being stopped by challenges. They developed what he called failure immunity. Not the ability to avoid failure, but the ability to transform failure into fuel for future success. This is the deepest level of acting as if nothing bothers you. It's not about pretending problems don't exist. It's about developing such trust in your ability to handle whatever comes that problems lose their power to shake your fundamental sense of security. You know you can figure it out. You know you can adapt. You know you can learn what you need to learn, develop what you need to develop, become who you need to become, to not just survive but thrive through any circumstance. This knowledge, this deep cellular trust in your own resilience becomes your most valuable asset. It's more valuable than money because money can be lost. It's more valuable than connections because people can disappoint you. It's more valuable than skills because industries can change. But your ability to remain unshaken while adapting to whatever life brings, that's unlosable wealth. Hill spent decades trying to articulate this concept. He called it many things: success consciousness, cosmic consciousness, infinite intelligence. But what he was really describing was unshakable self-trust. When you trust yourself at this level, you stop needing life to be predictable in order to feel secure. You stop needing other people to behave a certain way in order to feel worthy. You stop needing external circumstances to align in order to feel successful. Your security comes from your adaptability. Your worth comes from your character. Your success comes from your consciousness. This is freedom in its purest form. Not the freedom from responsibility, but the freedom to respond to any responsibility with clarity, creativity, and calm confidence. And as you develop this freedom, something beautiful happens in your relationships with others, because you're no longer approaching every interaction from a place of hidden need. People feel safe around you. They don't have to manage your emotions in order to be themselves. They don't have to perform for your approval in order to maintain connection. They don't have to walk on eggshells to avoid triggering your insecurities. This creates space for authentic intimacy, real friendship, genuine collaboration, true partnership. When you're unbothered by other people's authentic self-expression, even when it's messy, uncertain, or different from what you prefer, you become someone people can trust with their truth. This is magnetic in a world where most people are hiding behind carefully constructed personas designed to avoid rejection rather than invite genuine connection. Your willingness to remain stable while others are unstable, calm while others are chaotic, accepting while others are judgmental, creates an environment where real growth can happen. Not just your growth, but the growth of everyone around you. This is how one person's commitment to remaining unbothered can transform entire families, organizations, communities. Not through preaching or trying to change others, but through modeling what's possible when someone takes complete responsibility for their own inner state. Hill called this mastermind, the exponential power that emerges when people come together around shared commitment to growth and excellence. But true mastermind can only happen when each individual has mastered their own mind first. You can't contribute to collective wisdom if you're still enslaved to your own emotional reactivity. You can't participate in collaborative creation if you're still consumed with protecting your ego. You can't support others' growth if you're still addicted to drama. But when you've learned to act as if nothing bothers you, when you've developed genuine inner mastery, you become capable of the kind of partnership that moves mountains, builds empires, and transforms cultures. This is Hill's ultimate vision, not just individual success, but collective elevation. Not just personal mastery, but social transformation. Not just private peace, but public service. Because when you're no longer bothered by the chaos of the world, you become available to help heal it. When you're no longer triggered by other people's pain, you become capable of truly helping them transform it. This doesn't happen through trying to fix or change others. It happens through offering them the same gift you've given yourself. Unconditional acceptance of what is, combined with unwavering commitment to what's possible. You become a living example that it's possible to remain calm in chaos, peaceful in conflict, hopeful in difficulty, loving in the face of hatred. This example is more powerful than any argument, more persuasive than any technique, more transformative than any strategy. People see what you've become, and something inside them remembers what they could become. They witness your unshakable presence, and their own innate strength awakens. This is how true change happens in the world. Not through force or manipulation, but through inspiration. Not through trying to convince others to change, but through becoming so authentically yourself that others remember who they really are. Hill understood this ripple effect. He saw how one person's commitment to inner mastery could influence families, businesses, entire societies. This is why he devoted his life to studying and teaching these principles. He knew that the world's problems, war, poverty, injustice, suffering, all stem from the same source. People who haven't learned to master their own inner world, trying to control the outer world. But when enough people learn to act as if nothing bothers them, when enough individuals develop genuine inner mastery, the collective consciousness shifts. Problems that seemed impossible to solve become solvable. Conflicts that seemed irreconcilable become resolvable. Not through magic, but through the practical application of wisdom, compassion, and unshakable inner strength. This is your contribution to the world. Every moment you choose peace over reactivity, you're adding to the collective pool of human wisdom. Every time you respond to hostility with understanding, you're modeling a better way forward for humanity. Every day you practice acting as if nothing bothers you. You're not just improving your own life, you're participating in the evolution of human consciousness itself. This may sound grandiose, but Hill understood it as simple truth. Individual transformation is the foundation of all social transformation. Personal mastery is the prerequisite for collective progress. You cannot give what you do not have. You cannot teach what you have not learned. You cannot lead others to places you have not been willing to go yourself. But when you have learned to remain unshaken, when you have developed genuine inner mastery, when you have discovered how to act as if nothing bothers you from a place of authentic strength rather than defensive numbness, then you become a force for healing in a wounded world. This is the ultimate purpose of everything we've explored together. Not just your personal peace, but your contribution to the peace of the world. Not just your individual success, but your participation in humanity's collective growth. Hill's greatest insight was recognizing that there is no separation between personal development and global transformation. They are the same work at different scales. As you master yourself, you make mastery more possible for others. As you find your peace, you add to the peace available to all. As you learn to remain unbothered by chaos, you become part of the solution to the chaos that troubles our world. This is sacred work. This is meaningful work. This is the work that matters most. And you're doing it. Every day, in countless small moments, through your commitment to remaining centered while everything around you spins, you're contributing to something much larger than yourself. You're proving that it's possible. You're demonstrating that it works. You're showing others what they could become if they made the same commitment to inner mastery that you've made. This is your legacy, not what you accumulate, but what you become. Not what you achieve, but who you help others realize they can be. Hill spent his entire life studying success, but in the end, he discovered that the greatest success is becoming someone who cannot be shaken by temporary circumstances because they're rooted in eternal principles. You've learned these principles. You've applied these principles. You've become living proof that these principles work. Now the question is, what will you do with this mastery? How will you use this strength? Where will this unshakable foundation take you next? The answer is entirely up to you. Because when you've learned to act as if nothing bothers you, when you've developed genuine inner mastery, when you've found your unshakable center, you're finally free to create the life you actually want rather than just react to the life that happens to you. This is where your real journey begins. Everything up to this point has been preparation. Everything you've learned, every skill you've developed, every moment of growth you've experienced has been building toward this moment when you realize you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You are no longer dependent on other people's approval. You are no longer limited by your past patterns or future fears. You are free to choose, free to create, free to love, free to serve, free to grow, free to contribute, free to become whoever you're called to be. This freedom is Hill's ultimate promise. This freedom is your ultimate inheritance. This freedom is what makes everything else possible. And this freedom starts fresh every morning with the same simple choice. Will you give your power away to external circumstances, or will you keep your power and use it to create circumstances that reflect your highest vision? You know the answer. You've practiced the answer. You've become the answer. You are someone who acts as if nothing bothers them because you've learned that nothing has to bother you unless you allow it. You are someone who has mastered the art of remaining unshaken because you've discovered the source of unshakable strength within yourself. You are someone who has transformed temporary defeat into permanent wisdom, momentary setbacks into lasting growth, daily challenges into daily opportunities to express your highest self. This is who you are now. This is what you've become. This is the foundation from which you'll build everything that comes next. And what comes next is entirely up to you, because when nothing can shake your foundation, you're free to build whatever you can imagine on top of it. This is the end of one chapter and the beginning of infinite possibility. This is graduation from one level of consciousness and enrollment in the next. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your life to live from the unshakable center you've discovered within yourself. The world is waiting to see what you'll create from this place of authentic strength. The future is waiting to be shaped by your unshakable presence. Life is waiting to be lived by someone who knows that no external circumstance can diminish their essential worth. That someone is you. You've learned the ultimate lesson, Napoleon Hill spent his life teaching that true success comes not from controlling your circumstances, but from mastering your response to your circumstances. You've become living proof that it's possible to remain calm in chaos, peaceful in conflict, loving in the face of hatred, hopeful in times of difficulty, and strong in moments of challenge. You've learned to act as if nothing bothers you because you've discovered that nothing has to bother you. You are unshakable. You are unstoppable. You are free. And this is just the beginning. Thank you for taking this journey with me into the depths of Napoleon Hill's most powerful teaching. If these insights have shifted something in your understanding, if these principles have given you tools you can use, if this exploration has reminded you of your own inner strength, then my purpose has been fulfilled. The conversation about inner mastery never really ends. There are always deeper levels to explore, more nuanced applications to discover, new challenges that invite us to grow even stronger. I'll see you in the next exploration, where we'll dive even deeper into the practices that create unshakable strength and lasting inner peace. Until then, remember, you have everything you need within you to remain unbothered by whatever life brings. The power was always yours. Now you know how to use it.